Hey guys, it's Laura, and today I'm sharing a scrapbooking layout with you, the process video on how this traditional 12 by 12 layout came together. Now, this layout was inspired by the fabulous Steffi Reed, and she did a really gorgeous layout where she had cut out the center of this floral type pattern and put like some text in there and some photos and stuff. And I really loved that idea. I will link her original layout down below, and so you can see where that inspiration came from. And so I chose one of the only really busy floral patterns I had on hand. I used a paper plate to trace a circle in the middle of my layout, and I used that as a guide for cutting out the center there. And I used my X-Acto knife to get in there and cut the circle out. And that's because it wasn't a perfect circle. I wanted to leave some of the flowers behind to kind of create like a messy border. So some of the flowers were overlapping where that circular border would be. It's a little hard to explain in words, but you'll definitely understand what I mean once you see how this comes out. So I use my X-Acto knife and I trace around all the different flowers that I want to cut out or leave in around the frame. And this process took like 20 minutes. Then I grab my scissors and I use my scissors to fussy cut all of those flowers that I left around the border. That way the petals are more defined. And I'm really excited to share with you guys that I actually just recently, after making this layout, picked up a pair of scissors that are little and meant for fussy cutting. So I'm really excited to try those out in the future because using these big wonky scissors is very difficult for fussy cutting. So after I fussy cut the flower petals to make them look a little cleaner around the border there, I grab a white piece of cardstock and I cut it down to be big enough to fit that circle. And then I use my tape roller to adhere that white cardstock to the back of my layout. And this worked pretty well, although the paper I was using, the pattern paper, was really flimsy. So I could have just gone ahead and used a full 12 by 12 white piece of cardstock. That would have given it a little more stability, but what's done is done and I'm not too worried about it now. So then I grabbed my photographs, and I originally wanted my photographs to be in the middle of this white circular area here. And I have this sparkle tool that I kind of wanted to use, and it's gold, and that doesn't end up working out because the layout is already so busy. And I realized that with my photographs too here, that they were really large and the white space was really small, but because I had already spent all that time with my X-Acto knife and my scissors fussy cutting the border, I didn't want to go back and make a bigger circle and have to re-fussy cut a larger border there. So instead of doing what I wanted to and fixing it, I just decided to roll with the punches and deal with it. So I grabbed these black thickers here and I use that phrase, my crew, because there's a picture of me, and then in the other photograph there is a picture of my cat, my dog, and my other dog in my craft room with me. And it's kind of hard to see in the photograph because my dog and my cat blend together. They're both black, but yeah, that's kind of like my whole crew. They love to hang out with me in my craft room during the day, especially if it's a weekday when I am not in school and we're the only ones in the house. They love to hang out with me. So I love this photograph, and I really wanted to put the pictures in the middle. But I start adding some more florals around the border here to kind of fill it up a little more and make it look more defined as a border. And I realized there is just way too much going on here with the photographs being in the middle, and the layout's not really working out like I had anticipated. So I cut my photographs down. I'm hoping that it'll help clean the layout up a little bit, but You can see even in the smaller size, it doesn't really help. There's still a lot going on because there's so much of that busy floral pattern. So instead of putting my photographs in the middle, I decided I should probably overlap them on the edge there of the border and have them overlap some of that busy floral pattern. And then I'll still have some white space left. And I have this little piece of vellum here that I want to use to map my photographs on. And it's not large enough to actually just paste my photos on top of. So this is where I get a little creative because it was my last piece of vellum and I have to go to the store and grab more. I just cut it up into tiny little pieces and I used tape to adhere it to the back of my photographs around the edges. And then I end up trimming off the excess there. But sometimes you have to get creative when you're running out of a certain supply. So that's how I ended up creating this vellum border around my photographs. It mutes the background right around my photographs a tiny bit. I don't think it makes a noticeable difference on camera, but in person, the vellum really helps separate the photos from the background. And then I grabbed some foam dots because I know I want my photos to stick up off the page. And this is a technique that I almost always use to make my photographs the thing that stick up highest off of the page. And that way they're still receiving a lot of attention and kind of where your eye wants to go. And actually putting the photographs around the edge of the border here instead of in the middle, I think that kind of helps to bring your eye to them because you're following that circle with your eye line around the border there from the title around the border and then to the photographs there. So once I get my photographs down here, I play with some enamel dots and a flare button. And I really like that flare button that I add there. You can see I kind of mess around with where I'm going to put things and I move them around several times before I choose their final resting spot or choose whether or not they'll even be on the layout in the end. So I have these yellow star enamel dots and I use those around my border to add a few more pops of yellow. And then you'll see I also go back in with some round enamel dots in teal color. And I add those around my border too. And I think that's a really cool way. It's hard to tell again on the camera because you're so far zoomed out. But when you look at the layup up close, and I'll show you an up close at the end of the video here, you'll see that you actually can see those enamel dots and stars, and they do help move your eye around the border there because I use them to frame the border out. So just a little more visual interest in making that border a little more well-defined. And I think I'm on the verge of losing my voice here. So if my voice changed through this video, that is what is going on. My voice gets deeper when it's about to be lost. And now I'm going to do something that looks really weird on camera, but I grab my pencil and I kind of mimic what it would look like for me to draw circular journaling lines in that white space. And then I also see what it would look like to draw the horizontal lines there. And I'm not sure why I do that because looking at it on camera, it looks really silly, but I guess in my mind, it just helps me visualize what the journaling would look like. I decide that I really want my journaling to circle around there and fill up that white space. I had quite a story to tell because this was in the winter and our heater had gone out. It was like the first time we needed to turn our heat on this year. So we went like 2 weeks of trying to get heater guys out here and trying to get them to fix it, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And so I went out and I bought space heaters, and I had one set up in the bedroom, and then I had one set up in my craft room, and then I pretty much stayed in my bedroom and craft room the whole time. And all the animals were about that life, and you can see them in that photograph. They're sitting right in front of that space heater, and they love just sitting right in front of it and soaking it up and taking a nap and hanging out with me in my craft room. So I told the story about the heater and the winter being very cold and about the animals wanting to hang out with me. And I like that I have the story there. You can see my journaling got a little wonky towards the middle there and it doesn't quite look circular, but what can you do? And then I add a little enamel heart there, a black enamel heart, to finish off the layout. And this is what it looks like. Overall, I think it's really fun and colorful and unique. And I like it. It's not my style because it's so busy, but I do like it. And if you like it, please give this video a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below if you want to see more process videos from me. And make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the fun scrapbooking stuff that I do in the future. I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.